Welcome back. So, we have an update today. I don't really feel like it's a huge update, but it's bigger than what we normally get with the improvement changes. So, number one, they talk about having smarter AI soldiers. They'll get in trenches and do more useful things. We'll see. The AI is so hit and miss. Sometimes I feel like they do nothing and get shot, and the other half the time I feel like I'm running into the Ubermensch that shoot me through like 19 bushes straight between the eyes. So, we'll see. You also have greater comfort, as they say. But basically, what they're talking about is improved bullet and explosive effects on bodies and vehicles and whatnot. We talked about this the other day. The scarring on the vehicles, the giving effects and whatnot on the bodies. It sounds cool to make the game more cinematic. Now, here's where the exciting stuff is. It's all of the changes like individually listed. So the first one's talking about aperture sights, mostly on American weapons. Improve the way soldiers die when they get hit by bullets. They reworked the damage from frag grenades. This one should be really interesting. So basically, they'll kill you at 4 meters, they'll knock you down at 7, and they'll injure you at 10. Which I'm not sure if that's bigger or smaller than before. I feel like that's bigger. 10 meters is a pretty large area. Moving on from there, they fixed some issues with the paratrooper crate. Now, this is where things start getting interesting. So the VG2 had its fire rate buffed by 20% and its reload buffed. The Gewehr 1888 had its fire rate increased by 60%. Now, I understand it's got a pretty low fire rate to begin with, so. I mean, 60% of 0 is still 0, but this is a little bit more than 0. The reload time of the OVP 1918 has been reduced by 21%. I really like that. I really want to use the OVPs more, but when I was trying to, basically I was trying to make a BR2 Italian squad, and I gave them all OVPs. The problem I ran into with them is that the reload time on the gun was so slow. It felt like the guy was just standing there, like, staring at the magazine well, trying to socket it, like he'd never picked it up before. So hopefully that helps. The fire rate of the SMLE Mark III has been increased by 22%, which is pretty significant. Unfortunately, it's still at BR3. I would have liked it to move down to BR2, which is where all bolt action should be. The ammo capacity for many of the semi-autos has been increased from 30 to 50 rounds, which is huge. I'm going to notice that on the Gewehr 41, and I'm going to notice that on the Turner SMLE and the SKT-40. That's huge. At least for me, that's huge. Especially on the Turner SMLE. The amount of times where I would just blow through all of my ammo and have to have my engineer keep a box nearby to resupply them. It's one of the reasons why carrying the second rifle on them used to be so useful, because you'd blow through all your ammo on your primary, and then you'd switch to your second primary. The carried ammo capacity for the AKT-40 has been increased, so that's also nice. Magazine drop sounds have been added for the BSA Thompson, the DPM, the AT-44, and they change depending on the surface you're on. Same thing for many rifles. Fallen casings change their sound based on the surface you're standing on. Like, a lot of these changes make the game more cinematic and more beautiful. And honestly, those are pretty cool changes. I know that they're small. I know that they're not fixing any of the glaring issues in the game, but they make the experience just better. And they make it, I don't know, more immersive. I don't know. I know not everybody cares about sound design, but I really like good sound design in games. It's why, for example, the first FG42 in this game really bothers me, because I hate the way it sounds. I know statistically it's not as good as the FG42 too, but just on the way that it sounds every time I think about using the FG42, I'm just like, ugh. The gun basically sounds like it's suppressed, but it doesn't have a suppressor, and I don't like it. On top of the fact that I really don't like the recoil pattern on it either. The FG42 too just feels significantly better in my opinion, and it sounds a lot better. Anyway, they fixed in some cases switching to grenades would not work correctly. The names of weapons or weapon models that exceeded 36 characters have been shortened. They adjusted the parallax for certain scopes. They synchronized the reload sounds for several of the rifles. Several customization options have been added for the Soviet paratroopers. I'll have to look at that later. A semi-auto firing mode's been added for the MG30 and the MG34, which is really interesting. And I know it sounds kind of dumb, it's a light machine gun, but to be honest, I kind of like that. Using light machine guns at long range without having to just spray ammo and suppress the area is so useful. There are so many light machine guns where you can flip it onto semi-auto, where I will flip it onto semi-auto, because at that point it usually loses some of it, or at least it feels like it loses some of its shot dispersion, and you can use it kind of like a giant rifle. And if that's the case with these, that's going to be awesome. They fixed the incorrect assignment of helmet slots for German soldiers. Customization elements for German paratroopers have been fixed, and pants customization has been re-enabled. More winter uniforms for the U.S. Army in the Ardennes. They adjusted the uniform of USA Squad with Premium USA Squad with Flamethrower. That has to be the British squad from Tunisia, but we'll see. I'll have to look later. They removed shorts as an option from Stalingrad customization for Italian squads. That's fine, but at least then make sure that if I customize a squad to look Italian, that they have Italian uniforms in every theater. Because there are like dark gray or maybe black Italian uniforms that you can use with pants and shirts. And I would at least like to make sure that if I'm going to customize a squad that way, that they're going to look like that everywhere. Because I like the idea of having non-Germans in my Axis army. It's just not something that I've messed around with because of how jank the current customization system is in regard to going to different maps. And they corrected the average height of Japanese soldiers. I didn't even know that that was an issue, but that's kind of funny. See, onto vehicles. They added the new bullet and shell impacts. That's cool. Puddles no longer disappear after a tank drives over them, and now every ground vehicle without exception will leave tracks. So hunting down vehicles that drive off probably gets a little bit easier. Now onto UI. There's an option for selling all available for melee weapons, pistols, flamethrowers, mortars, grenade launchers. The main button, in the main menu, there's a button to change clothes. It's been added to the list of soldiers in the squad. Functionality for displaying event tasks in the main menu has been added. They're now also displayed in battle when opening the map. I thought they already were, but maybe it wasn't all tasks. Now when trying to sell a scope or bayonet, a warning window will pop up. Now if you don't have enough silver to upgrade a weapon, text will notify you. I'm surprised that wasn't a thing before. I feel like it was self-explanatory, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know. They improved the look of the matchmaking window. They fixed an issue where part of the interface was covering the vehicle spawn point and dominant heights. They added the ability to quickly view the perk list, and an asterisk now appears next to soldier's perk point if it's the maximum value of the class. I would have liked to have seen a UI change where you can manipulate the screen when you're trying to spawn, basically spin the overhead. There are times where you want to spawn, say, paratroopers, and like probably not a third, but like a quarter of the screen, or of the potential play area, is blocked by the soldier list, and it makes it so you can't drop in those areas. And they're not always like weird fringe areas. I've had it before where because of the orientation of the map, it was like going right over where one of the objectives was, and it just feels bad when that happens. On to graphics, they've added smoke from the barrel of the tank skin after firing. The barrel's machine guns heat up when overheated, so they must like glow now. It doesn't say that, but it says that they heat up, so it's either heat haze or they glow, which is cool. They improved destructibility of natural objects from explosions. They added the effect of scattered leaves and rising dust after explosions. The detonation of powerful explosives lifts subsoil. They improved the effects of bullets and ricochets. Paratrooper clothing flutters in the wind while landing. They fixed particle effects. Added an effect for hitting a haystack. They added effects for AT weapons. They increased the speed of ejection of casings from weapons. They improved the render quality of ground textures. Improved volumetric fog. Improved and updated lighting for Normandy light poles. And they updated lighting from spotlights and bunkers and a bunch of other stuff. Basically, I think they're just trying to polish everything up and make it look nice because we have the Steam release coming up. And with that, they want to bring in new people. And if they want to bring in new people, a really effective way of doing that is to make your experience really pretty and really cinematic. On to AI soldiers. The AI soldiers can be sent into trenches and they'll actually use it as cover and won't try to leave. So that's nice. How many times have you tried to, say, capture an objective or defend an objective around Moscow? Tried to order or Tunisia for that matter, and tried to order your guys into a trench, and they'll just stand around on the outside of the trench and get shot. The AI soldiers now react more actively to player markers unless they're expecting a previously detected enemy to emerge from cover, so that's nice. So if you don't know, the way that the AI is supposed to work is if you put down a mark as the, I guess, squad leader of the squad, all of your AI are supposed to turn and face that mark, and then if somebody's there, they're supposed to shoot at them. It's basically supposed to be a way to control your squad. The problem is, in practice, I don't feel like it worked in the past. Or at least I don't think it felt like it worked consistently. So they say that they're improving it, so hopefully now your soldiers will actually listen to you. The AI soldiers now finish off heavily wounded enemies in hand-to-hand combat. I love this part. It's not a war crime. We're in the game. That being said, I really appreciate that. It's gonna be shitty for the player, I guess, because there are plenty of times where I've gotten down by an AI soldier and just stared at him and healed myself, got up and shot him. So I probably won't be able to do that anymore, but I do appreciate that now when I knock people down around me, or my AI knocks people down around me, they'll actually finish the guy off instead of letting him just sit there on his knees. The let's see, improved memorization of the last known position of a spotted enemy squad by AI soldiers, and they'll be more vigilant and will wait longer for attacks from dangerous directions. But here's the real question. Will they just let people walk through the door and kill us? Because if that hasn't changed, that one needs to change. It happens way too often where somebody just walks through the door and they just stare at the dude and let him kill the whole squad. Finally, during descent on a ladder, the AI soldiers will get stuck less often. So that's nice. Now for locations and missions. So their approach to balancing missions has changed. Now the capture time of the same type of points will not differ in all missions. Points located in the open will be captured faster, but they will also be identical to each other in all missions in the future. They will not balance missions with the speed of capturing points. I actually had no idea that they were balancing around that. That's interesting. I don't like that they're speeding up the time of capturing points. I already think it takes way too little time to capture a point. They adjusted the winter biomes in Ardennes. I'm curious what that means. Like, it just says that they adjusted it, not necessarily that they improved it, so I'm sure they just changed some of the positions in some of the snowy areas. They added the mission Munda Trail Shimizu Hill Invasion. They added Dominant Heights South Invasion. They added a new mission Reichskanzlei West Invasion. So these are basically all just new directions on some of the existing map tiles for different game modes. So that's cool. It'll add variety, make things feel a little bit more, I don't know, fresh. They improved the spawn points at battle areas in Verbig Station. They improved the ground vehicle spawn points in battle areas in Versailles Conquest, Communist Street, Confrontation, the Kroll Opera House Assault, Omer North, and Gogol Street West. So, it's probably good. I don't see anything about Normandy in there. Well, like the Normandy D-Day map. I know that I've had a half-track literally spawn on top of a trench there and be unable to be moved, so hopefully they keep changing those. Especially with the abundance of vehicles now, it's really common for areas and maps to turn into parking lots with all the dead half-tracks and tanks and trucks, so hopefully they'll be a little bit more diligent in where their spawns are to make sure that the pile-ups don't start too early. They improved the ground vehicle spawn points in fortified districts. So this is mostly about spawn points on various maps. You can look at it for more detail. Okay, here we go. They improved the vehicle spawn points in D-Day. There we go. Alright, other improvements. They fixed shaking of various additional equipment items when changing them. In the equipment window, the weapon list now displays a tooltip indicating the classes that can use the weapon. That's really nice. Mod editor changes. Changes have been made to the trenches in Ardennes. The width has been reduced, making it easier for tanks to overcome them. I don't know if the width of the trench is the issue so much as tanks' inability to drive over holes in general. And I think it comes down to how vehicles are modeled. And I think that what they did is they made the bottom of the vehicle like flat, basically, and that flat rides over the surface. And I don't think that they actually simulated tracks moving. And because of that, even if you put tracks on both sides of a trench, sometimes you just stop moving. And it kind of sucks. There are lots of situations, whether it's a crater or trench or whatever, where you should be able to drive over it, and you just can't. So, making them narrower probably will help with that. It'll certainly help with infantry survivability in the trenches, because it'll be harder to land things in the trench. Like, because it'll be smaller, there'll be less variation. Or I'm not phrasing this the way I want to, but basically there's a smaller area to hit, and so it'll be less likely to be hit. Let's see. Various balance improvements have been made to Berlin. The auto aim assist for hands and elbows of soldiers has been removed. This is consoles only. Free perk reset's been given for the assault squads from Winter Fantasy, so that's nice. A unique sound has been added when receiving a soldier with maximum characteristics, so there you go, get your dopamine hit. Fix the ability to bring up the radial menu in the spawn screen. Fix the inability to exit a vehicle without the squad or changing seats when using a gamepad. Fix synchronization issues. German gas masks and sniper masks now properly fit. Camera smoothness has been improved. Improved audibility of enemy footsteps and vehicle engines, and improved server-side hit registration. So, lots and lots and lots of little changes, A lot of them are going to be pretty neat. Hopefully we see them take in some of the feedback from the uh, subreddit post the other day. I probably will try to make a video about that this week, but we'll get to that when we get to that. In general, neat little update. Lots of changes that'll make the game more atmospheric and look better. So, all in all, good changes. Looking forward to the next proper big update. As per usual, get out there, kick ass, take names, and win your games.